Let's take a look at how we can customize our KG-R70 by Wouxun with the software that Wouxun provides. The software allows us to perform some customizations that are not possible from the device itself. For that, we will need a programming cable. It does not need to be the original one. I got this one off of Amazon. And the important thing, I guess, is that it has these 2-pin connectors, also known as a Kenwood connector. We will insert the connector on the side of the radio and then plug the USB-A into our machine. And once that is done, we can turn on our radio. And with the radio connected and on, we will then move on to our computer. When we open the software for the first time, it comes with 40 channels on display. That doesn't mean that the radio only has 40 channels. At this point, the software doesn't know anything of what's in the radio. So the first thing we need to do is to figure out which is the correct port the correct port to use to communicate with the radio. On my machine, I know it's COM1. It may change on your machine. And once we know on which port we have, we read from radio. So what this is doing is it's using the cable to read what is in the radio. Obviously. So now in a split second you will see that all the channels will have customizations like channel names and some other stuff. Let's start with additional settings. You may have noticed that my radio starts with my call sign, coder 703. This is something you can only set up from the software. So you move on to the configuration settings and set your startup message can be whatever you want. There is a limited amount of characters though, so keep that in mind. There are a few other things you can set, squelch level, timeout, and all sorts of things, all right? Now, let's look at what we can do over here. Many of those operations here can be done through the radio, although it takes a lot of time. Like if you try to type a channel name through the radio, it takes forever and it's easy to make mistakes. Whereas from the software, it's a breeze, and you can even export the channel list in comma-separated value files. So you can type them on a spreadsheet application or in a Visual Studio Code if you are more technical. So let's look at some things that can be done from the software and from the radio. Assigning channel names, that's one of them. Or one of the things I did on my radio was to customize a channel 71, basically. I called it 171. We have a hotspot in this area that listens on channel 71 and requires a CTCSS in transmission to be able to activate and to actually talk to the hotspot. And what the hotspot does, it then broadcasts through the internet to the network of other hotspots over here in the Czech Republic that transmit in the typical CB frequencies. So here I added a standard channel with a few customizations. Nothing that cannot be done directly from the radio. Now let's look at one thing I did that cannot be done from the radio. And this is, let's say, free banding. All right. There are a few channels. The famous one is 27555, which is not in the standard CB frequencies, and that's fairly used for DX. So this cannot be added from the device. It has to be done through the software. Now, here you may notice that I do not indicate a transmission frequency. So this is to prevent myself from transmitting on this frequency. This is not really allowed in the Czech Republic, so to prevent mistakes, I just removed that. And we will see on the radio how the notation changes when we don't have a transmission frequency. Then I added also another one over here, 26285, same things, I removed the transmission frequency. One thing that we can do only from the customization software is what we would do with a duplex repeater. So a duplex repeater will receive on one frequency and transmit on another. So let's say we receive on 27555, but we want to transmit on 27665. All right. Now we don't indicate an offset like we would do on some other type of radios. We just indicate a totally different frequency. Like you could indicate whatever here. And then you customize it as you wish. I will call it a repeater, and this will be useful for the demo later on. All right. Now this is useful for a repeater, but you could also do that. So let's say you have a friend with whom you want to talk to two different channels, so others who are eavesdropping can only get half of the conversation. Well, you could listen to the frequency where they transmit, and they listen to the frequency where you transmit. This kind of customization. Now, another thing I customized here is the scan. The R70 has a scan mode, and you can indicate which channels you want to scan, and you control that through the scan add. This is something you can do through directly through the radio, but doing that through the software is a lot faster. So what you do is to set scan add to on for the channels you want to scan. Now I set that only for the channels that are usually used for DX. So if I'm chasing some DX CQs, I will just start the scanning, and in about 5 seconds my radio is going to go through all the channels I'm interested in. Now this can be done obviously from the radio, but it's a lot faster if we do that from the software itself. All right, now this works very much like a let's say a spreadsheet software or a word processor. So the usual hygiene rules work there. Save your files, archive them somehow, have your system, and once you're ready, you can write to the radio. So this is going to use the data cable to upload the data to the radio. And once the upload is completed, the radio will reboot. All right, now that everything has been uploaded to the radio, we can disconnect the cable and we can move on to the next part of the demo. Now, here, this one boots directly on channel 9. This is something I customized on the software. And right now you can see the channel 555. If you recall, this does not have a transmission frequency, and you will see that it has this minus sign visible over here. Same thing for the 285. I did not set a transmission channel. Now, what happens if I press the push to talk? There will be a tone, and this tone is indicating that, well, we don't have a transmission frequency. So this is a safeguard for us. Now, we also set a repeater. Now, this is not going to show the frequency because our work mode, which is menu item 10 or 13, not even that, 16, is set to name. We want to set it to channel frequency, so we will see the frequency. So we are receiving on 27555. You see here the sign plus. Plus means that the transmission frequency is different from the reception frequency. And when we push to talk, we will see that we will be on 27665 and we receive on 555. So this is the typical duplex repeater behavior. Now, last thing, I will bring this one back into name mode, and that will be a quick demo of the scanner. I said that I had a much shorter list for the scanner. So when I push the side button 1, long press, it's going to activate the scanner, and you will see that it only scans a few channels, and in about 5 to 6 seconds it does the complete run of my list. Had I kept the 80 plus channels, it would have taken probably upwards of 20 seconds or maybe even 30 seconds to do the complete run. So obviously, if you are out and trying to catch some DX CQs, you want to scan through those channels a lot quicker.